So this isn't going to be your typical history lesson. No, this is your story. We're going to take a journey and see how an ordinary farmer, someone just living their life, could end up as one of the founders of a nation. Let's get right into it.
Okay, I want you to forget everything you know right now. The year is 1765. You're not sitting there listening to this. You're a farmer. You live just outside of Boston, and your entire universe is the land you work and the family you need to feed. And this is your whole world. 40 acres. It's not a whole lot, but you know what? It's yours. Life is just this rhythm, right? Planting corn, planting wheat, making sure your wife and kids have food on the table. It's tough work, it's a simple life, but it's your life. You don't answer to anyone except the changing seasons and your own two hands. Until, well, someone an ocean away decides they're going to change the rules on you. And then, bam! Suddenly everything has a price tag you never agreed to. A tax on your newspaper, on legal papers, even on a deck of playing cards. Parliament, thousands of miles away, says you have to help pay for Britain's massive £140 million war debt. You never got a vote, you had no voice at all, and something inside you just starts to burn. You're not just a farmer anymore. You're an angry farmer. And all that anger has to go somewhere, right? You start meeting up in taverns in secret with other folks who feel the exact same way. Guys like Samuel Adams who put a name to what you're feeling. Tyranny. And you join a group they're calling the Sons of Liberty. The change happens fast. You've gone from being a quiet colonist to a fired-up citizen, getting organized for your first real mission. I mean, just look at the scale of this thing. On a freezing December night, you and 115 other guys dump tea worth almost $2 million in today's money straight into Boston Harbor. This isn't just some small protest. This is huge, deliberate, economic sabotage. And it feels amazing. But King George III, yeah, he's not amused. His response is fast and it is brutal. He basically puts Boston under military lockdown.
So the line has officially been crossed. Your city is occupied territory, your port is shut down. That anger you felt, it's hardened into something else now, resolve. You're not just protesting anymore, you're getting ready for a fight.
And would you just look at these odds? This is you, standing on Lexington Green. You're one of 77 guys, farmers, blacksmiths, with an old musket that's maybe accurate to 50 yards. And coming at you are 700 professional soldiers from the biggest, baddest army on the planet. It's an impossible situation. It looks like a death sentence.
But you don't run, you stand your ground. A shot rings out and nobody to this day knows who fired it, and in that single moment the world changes forever. You lose the fight on the green, of course you do. But later that day at Concord Bridge, you and hundreds more militiamen, you rally. You fight from behind stone walls, from behind trees, and you actually push the British back. You've just fired the first shots of a revolution.
So, this is it. This is the forge of war. You're not a part-time militiaman anymore. You've signed up for the new Continental Army. You are now officially a soldier, and you're stepping into the fire of a full-blown war.
At a place called Bunker Hill, you're staring down that unstoppable British Army again. You're dangerously low on ammunition, so every single shot has to matter. The command comes down the line. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. Now, you lose the hill, yes, but you make the British pay a staggering price for it. Over 1,000 of them are killed or wounded. And this just proves something incredible, that farmers can fight, and they can make the world's greatest army bleed. But morale is a tricky thing. And by the end of 1776, the whole revolution is just dying on the vine. You're losing battle after battle. The army is falling apart. Defeat feels like it's just around the corner. And then, on a frozen Christmas night, Washington makes this completely insane gamble. He takes what's left of the army across the icy Delaware River to launch a surprise attack on Trenton. It's an unbelievable, shocking victory that breathes life back into the entire cause.
And then comes Saratoga. And this is the moment the whole war just pivots. I mean, it's not just another battle you won. You forced an entire British army, almost 6,000 men, to hand over their weapons and surrender. A victory this huge, this unbelievable, it makes the whole world sit up and take notice.
And here's why that's such a massive deal. Saratoga convinces France that you guys might actually win this thing, so they officially recognize American independence and declare war on Britain. All of a sudden, you have a real navy, you have professional soldiers, money, and modern weapons on your side. You're not fighting alone anymore. The war then moves down south, and the whole strategy changes. Under a brilliant general named Nathaniel Greene, you learn a totally new way to fight. You don't have to win every single battle, you just have to survive. You have to wear the enemy down, make their victories so incredibly costly that they just can't afford to keep winning. You're literally bleeding them dry, one painful battle at a time.
But this long, grinding war, it demands more from you than just endurance on the battlefield. You're starting to learn that freedom has a very, very high price, and a very personal one. So now, you get pulled from the front lines for a mission that's completely in the shadows. You become a spy in George Washington's personal intelligence network operating inside British-held New York City. You're using invisible ink, secret codes, gathering information where one wrong move, one discovered letter, means you end up on the gallows. You're not saving lives with a musket now, but with information.
And that intelligence you gathered? It leads directly to this, the grand finale. Washington secretly marches his entire army 600 miles south, trapping the main British army at a place called Yorktown. The French Navy blocks their escape by sea. For 21 relentless days, you lay siege. And then, it happens. On October 19, 1781, 8,000 British regulars lay down their arms. And their band, they play a song called The World Turned Upside Down. It's over. You've actually won.
You finally go home, you're a hero. But victory, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Your farm is a wreck, overgrown and neglected. Your wife seems like a stranger, worn out by years of just trying to survive. And your oldest son, you find out he died at the Battle of Camden. You never even got the letter. The new government, it's broke. It can't pay you what you're owed. You fought for a nation that right now doesn't really feel like it exists. So the fighting is done, but the revolution isn't over, not by a long shot. Now comes the really hard part, trying to build an actual country out of all the chaos and all the broken promises.
Years go by. You rebuild your farm, you endure, and your sacrifice has earned you a seat at the table. You're called to Philadelphia in 1787. And for 4 straight, sweltering summer months, you and 54 other men argue behind locked doors. You hammer out these incredibly difficult compromises on how states should be represented, on how much power the federal government should have, even on the awful issue of slavery. The whole thing nearly falls apart a dozen times. But somehow you create an entirely new form of government.
And then, on September 17, 1787, you become one of just 39 men to sign your name to the Constitution of the United States. Your hand is trembling, but not from age, it's from the sheer, crushing weight of this moment. You started as a farmer, became a rebel, then a soldier, and now you're a founder. As the last few men are signing, old Benjamin Franklin points to the sun that's carved on the back of Washington's chair. And he says, he's been looking at that sun for months, and he couldn't tell if it was rising or setting on this new country. But now he says, now he knows. It's a rising sun. His words just perfectly capture the feeling in that room, this fragile, exhausted, but deep, deep sense of hope. The experiment is truly begun.
You go back home to your 40 acres. You're an old man now. You walk with a limp from a wound you took what feels like a lifetime ago. Sometimes, at night, you still see the faces of the friends you lost, of the son you had to bury. You gave up everything for an idea. And as you look out over your land, this land that is finally, truly yours, you're left with just one last question. Was it worth it? And would you do it all over again?